I remembered the day I handed him that check like it was yesterday. It was my last rent payment, my last few dollars. Honestly, I had just started picking up work again after months of barely surviving. That check represented everything: stability, safety, maybe even a new beginning. I handed it to Mike, my landlord, right in front of his office. He looked me in the eye, took the envelope, nodded, and shut the door behind him. I walked away thinking I'd finally caught a break. I had no idea he was already planning to evict me. 5 days later, I came home to a piece of paper taped to my front door. It was folded and fluttering in the wind like it didn't matter. I pulled it down with shaking hands and read the bold words at the top. Eviction for non-payment of rent. My chest went cold. I rushed to check my bank account, maybe I messed up. But no, the check had cleared, it was gone. He'd cashed it, yet here I was, facing eviction. I felt like the floor had dropped out beneath me. I called Mike. No answer. I texted him first politely, then more urgently. Finally, he replied, "Already filed. Nothing I can do now." That's all he said. No explanation, no concern. Just cold, careless words. I sat down on my living room floor, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes and hope that hadn't even settled in yet, and cried. I was tired, broke, alone, and now, possibly homeless. I didn't know what to do, but I knew one thing for sure: I wasn't letting this slide. The next morning, I went to the courthouse. I showed them proof that I paid my rent. The clerk looked confused, then told me the case hadn't been filed yet. That meant I had time barely. Something in me shifted in that moment. The fear didn't disappear, but it started changing into something else: anger, determination. If he wanted to play dirty, fine. I could play smart. I went home and started gathering everything. I had bank statements, text messages, even photos of the apartment, to show its condition. Later that week, I talked to my neighbor, Maria. She'd lived there for 5 years. When I told her what was happening, she just nodded and said, "You're not the first." My stomach turned. She said Mike had done it before: claimed rent, wasn't paid, filed eviction, and flipped the unit to new tenants for more money. Most people don't fight, she said. They just leave. I couldn't believe it. But the more I looked around, the more I realized how many empty units there were. It wasn't a coincidence. That night, I stayed up late organizing everything. I built a folder with labeled documents, bank proof, timelines, conversations. I even found screenshots from a few months earlier where Mike confirmed he'd received my check. I printed out everything. It was overwhelming, but I had to do it. This wasn't just about a place to live anymore, it was about not letting someone like him take advantage of people who didn't know how to fight back. I wasn't going to be his next easy win. When the court date came, I barely slept the night before. I wore the nicest thing I owned and showed up early. Mike sat across from me, grinning like this was already in the bag. He handed the judge a fake ledger that showed I owed 2 months of rent, too. I wanted to scream. Instead, I took a deep breath and gave the judge my folder. She read through the documents, then looked back at Mike with a cold stare. "So you received payment?" she asked him. He stuttered, said maybe there was a mistake, that maybe he'd forgotten to record it. But it was too late. The evidence was clear. The judge dismissed the eviction immediately. She warned Mike that false filings could result in penalties. I felt like I could breathe again. I walked out of that courtroom shaking, but it wasn't from fear anymore. It was from adrenaline, relief, pride, but most of all, a fire I couldn't ignore. I hadn't just won, I had uncovered something deeper. I kept thinking about Maria, about the woman who lived here before me, about all the people Mike probably pushed out without a second thought. It wasn't enough to walk away with a win. I needed to stop him from doing this to anyone else. So, I filed a formal complaint with the housing department, the local tenant union, and the state licensing board. I submitted everything: the fake ledger, proof of payment, and a statement of what happened. Then I found out Mike wasn't just a landlord. He had a professional license as a property manager. That meant he was legally held to a higher standard. I sent a detailed complaint to the licensing board with every piece of evidence. I even got 2 former tenants to share their stories. One of them, a woman named Kim, told me she had been wrongfully evicted and ended up living in her car for 6 weeks. Her voice cracked when she told me. That broke something in me and solidified my resolve. Weeks passed, then months. I kept following up, kept pushing, until finally, I got a letter from the licensing board. My hands were shaking when I opened it. It said that after reviewing the case and investigating, they had permanently revoked Mike's property management license. I read that sentence over and over. I cried not out of sadness, but from a deep, overwhelming sense of justice. I didn't just protect myself, I protected future tenants from him, too. A few days later, I saw Mike in the parking lot. He looked different, smaller, somehow. He wouldn't meet my eyes. No grin, no fake confidence, just silence. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. I just walked past him, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Power. Not the kind that hurts people, but the kind that comes from finally standing up for yourself, and for others who couldn't. I moved out a few months later. Not because I had to, but because I was ready. That apartment didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a battleground I'd survived, and I wanted peace. But I left with my head high and my heart full, knowing I didn't run. I didn't fold. I fought, and I won. I tell this story now because I know there are people out there who are scared, who think they can't fight back, who feel small in the face of landlords, bosses, systems that don't seem to care. I've been there. I know that feeling. But you are not powerless. You are not invisible. You matter more than they want you to believe. So if you're reading this and you've been wronged, please don't give up. Keep your receipts. Document everything. Know your rights. And if someone like Mike tries to take advantage of you, show them they picked the wrong person. That's what I did. He thought I was just another tenant. Just another easy target. But I made sure that after me, he'd never do it again.